This is called the Dome of the Rock, and I'm going to show you two different uh, views of it. This is the exterior of the Dome of the Rock, and so we'll start there. The Dome of the Rock is built in the late 7th century, about 691 to 692. It is the oldest Islamic building to survive intact from its original form. It's made out of stone masonry. It has a wooden roof that's decorated with glazed ceramic tiles and mosaics. There's also gilt and aluminum bronze and on the dome. So this is a domed octagon that was originally erected by Abd al-Malik, a caliph for the Umayyad dynasty. The reason why it has survived intact in its original form is that it's built on a former site of the Temple of Jerusalem after the Islamic conquest of Jerusalem and Palestine in the 7th century. So technically it's a mosque, but really it's much more. This spot in particular in Jerusalem is really important to several faiths. It's important to the Jewish faith, the Muslim faith, and the Christian faith. So I'm going to go over those reasons why in a second. First of all, the reason why is that this is in the center of Jerusalem, and it's considered the noble sanctuary, a rocky area where Muslims believe Muhammad ascended to the presence of God on the night journey described in the Quran, and he met other prophets, including Moses and Jesus Christ, and saw angels circumambulating around God. This is also believed to be the site of the first and second Jewish temples, as they believe this is a site of what's called the foundation stone, the symbolic underpinning upon which the world was created. They also believe that this is the place where Abraham binded the hands of his son Isaac when God told him to sacrifice his child for God. And Abraham was about to murder his son Isaac, a son who he longed for, and at the last minute, God intervened and believed that Abraham was a faithful servant as a result, because he would give up his son for God. So Jews and Christians also variously associate this place with this site being the burial of Adam, the original human. Other important events from the life of Christ occurred here, including the crucifixion of Christ. So that this is why that place is so holy. I mean, all three faiths have a reason to believe that this site is holy. It's parallels to the Kaaba in Mecca, um, but it's a little bit different because when you circumambulate, like in the Kaaba, you circumambulate the building, but this one you circumambulate on the inside. So you enter it and see what's on the inside. We'll go into that in a second. The statement about Islam is by appropriating the site, by taking the site that is important to Christians and Jews, this manifests itself into the belief that the Islamic views are completing earlier faiths. So it's like this is the next progression in the importance of the story of the history of the world. So in 691, the Dome Shrine was built over the rock, the Dome of the Rock. So there's a literal rock we're going to look at in a second. And it was done largely by Byzantine artists. And it shows heavy Byzantine influence. This is the first great monument of Islamic art. Structurally, it imitates centrally planned forms of early Christian churches, which were based on Roman temple precedents. Yet, unlike its earlier models, which have unadorned exteriors, the early churches, remember, are very plain. This structure has a golden dome to decorate all around, and then the ceramic tiles on the exterior were added later, but it is a highly decorated and beautiful on the outside. All right, let's get it into the inside. Oh, here's a detail. of the use of calligraphy and patterning and the vegetal motifs that we see in other Islamic art. So here's the interior of what we can see. So down here shows you the centrally planned, how it's centrally planned, and then right in the middle is this picture right here, and that is the rock. That's where all of those events were supposedly taking place, is on this rock. So the purpose is to go into the mosque and you circumambulate around the rock. That is the point of doing this. So let's see. So unlike the ceramic tiles on the outside, which were added later, the marble veneers and mosaics on the inside are all original. The dome has windows at the base, which you can see from the top right picture. And there's also, which is supported by arcades and alternating piers and columns. The columns are significant because they were used from previous Roman monuments in the region, so that there we have some more spolia. And the dome covers the central space that has the rock. Ambulatories permit devout visitors to circumambulate the rock. There are inscriptions from the Quran interspersed with passages from other texts, including information about the building itself, that forms a frieze around the inner and outer arcades. This is the first time that the script from the Quran was used in architecture. The arches on the inner and outer side face the central arcade have golden mosaic tiles used for words on a green and turquoise background, and that was adapted from the Byzantine technique, the use of creating ornament and inscriptions. That was a Byzantine way of doing things. So in order to read the inscriptions, you must walk around the ambulatory clockwise, then counterclockwise to read the inscriptions. So the building communicates both text as well as a stunning visual. Below are inscription mosaics. There are scroll vines over gold background. That was thought to represent Garden of Paradise, of Muslim victories offered to God. There are marble faces on the walls below the mosaics. The columns are marble with gilded capitals. Remember, gilded means faced with gold. The inner ring of columns is circular and the outer is octagonal, but they line up, so there's this interplay between circle and square. The carpets are important, and they have been redone over the years, but their intent, the way they make these carpets, are supposed to be in the reflecting the original intent of the carpets that were there before. Same thing with the ceilings. The ceilings have calligraphy and tiles that have been damaged or fallen over the years, but they have been replaced, and but they reflect the original intent. So though these decorative elements are rich, the focus of the building is not on the art or the architecture, but really the focus, the whole point of the Dome of the Rock is the actual rock on the inside of this building. So this is in Jerusalem, and so again, another place where both people of all three faiths will go and see the Dome of the Rock, because this is such a holy place for Jews, Christians, and Muslims.